So usually when we hear Git, we hear version control system. Well, because that's what it is. But when I first heard of it myself, I was confused. I heard a lot of high sounding explanations that made me feel I'm not good enough to understand it. So I'll make this explanation very easy and simple. So what's version control system? Let's start with version as a word. Now version is a particular form of something at a time. I'll explain. It's not limited to release. The whole idea of Git is to keep track of the entire history of our code base. I used to work as a graphic designer, and I'll design, let's say, a flyer and export as a CorelDRAW file. When I need to refactor my design later on, I make changes and save. But then I don't overwrite my previous exports. I'll save like final design, and then when I try to do that again, I'll name it final design 2, and then the next one I'll name it final design and final design for real and so on. You get the gist. I'm doing that so that I can have like all the different versions of my design in different files. So this is because what if I screw up my work and then after saving I don't like the new look, or after a while I feel like the previous version was better. Also, what if I missed like a text or element from the previous version and now I want to get it back? Having the previous version still available will make it possible for me to, always backtrack and go back to where I was before. So that's the thing about version control. It gives me this freedom to make changes, knowing that I can always go back to what was, just in case I break something. Now, version control is not Git. Git is version control. Here's why I'm saying that. Before I started using Git, I used to be scared of it. Maybe the name. But then I did version control to an extent. So at times when I work on a file and I want to make changes and modify it, I'd create a new file, copy and paste my code from the previous file, and then make my modification. Why am I doing this? It's for fear of breaking things. Also, sometimes you just want to have the previous version. That's really all there is to version control. I still have access to my previous version as well as the new version. So Git is just an easy way to do version control without all that hassle. Now what's GitHub? It's simply a web-based repository that supports version control with Git. It's really the same thing as storing data such as your images and videos online or in the cloud. But this time it's your code base you'll be storing. And then you have the ability to store and refer to different versions of that code base easily. So let's dive right in. Now we're going to be creating a new GitHub account, and then we'll demo creating a project and version control with that project and then pushing it to GitHub. So as you can see, we're on GitHub's website. You can get there by navigating to www.github.com on your browser. The first thing we have here is their landing page. Built for developers, GitHub is a development platform inspired by the way you work. Okay, so we want to sign up, and this is like the default form. Here's the sign up form. So let's start with username. So we want to select a new username for our user. What do I use here? Super awesome dev. I mean, that sounds really cool. So let's see if this is available. Super awesome dev. Yeah, this is available. Nice. And then email address. So let's just use superawesomedev@gmail.com. I can't use my email address because I've already used that. And then password. So for this, we're gonna go with the secure password. And notice what they say. Make sure it's at least 15 characters or at least 8 characters, including a number and a lowercase letter. So I think I have the right password for this, but I hope I remember it. Let's try that again. Okay. All right. This should work. So now we have the next screen, which is the verify your account interface. GitHub expects us to solve a puzzle for this. Please solve this puzzle so we know you're a real person. So here we go. I'm about to prove my humanity. Verify. And now we just have to roll the image to, the right position that this should do. Yeah. When the image is the correct way up, touch done. So that's for that. And this is kind of fun. I think I should create the GitHub accounts more often. and then this too. Yeah, so I'm actually human. So the next step is we have this button here, join a free plan. This is default, so we click that to create an account. In the past days there was like option for join a free plan, paid plan, and so on, but GitHub actually made like almost all their functionalities of their platform free. So what kind of work do you do mainly? I'm a software engineer. How much programming experience do you have? You can go with any of these, none, a little, moderate amounts, a lot. So let's say none. What do you plan to use GitHub for? Learn to code, learn Git. I really don't think all of this is necessary. I'm just in languages, framework, industry, Golang, JavaScript, Python, and so on and so forth. So complete setup. Yeah. Now please check your email settings before you can contribute. On GitHub, we need to verify your email address. So yeah, but at this point, GitHub should send you a verification email, and then you'll be presented with options to verify your account. So now that we have an account set up, the next thing we want to do is install Git. So to be able to use Git, we have to install it in our computer, and it's like the same way you would install any, desktop application. So let's just search for install Git. This is gitsm.com. This is where you want to go to, and then you have these three options: Mac OS X, Windows, Linux /UX. So depending on your OS, you click and then you install it. So it's pretty much straightforward from here for the installation. Now I already have this installed, so let's go to the next step, which is to create a project. We'll be using VS Code for this, and I'm just going to create a new window. Now the first thing I want to do is navigate to my documents. So I'll just sit into my documents directory, and obviously you can do this from your file explorer or your file manager depending on your OS. So the next thing I want to do is create a directory for my Git demo. So let's name this demo Git, and then sit into demo Git. All right, so now we have this. I want to open Visual Studio Code here. So depending on, you can do this from your terminal. You can open your terminal in that directory, or if you're using Visual Studio Code, this is what I'll do: code dot, and this opens a new window with that particular project. So now that I have this, I have the directory open here. So the next thing I want to do is create a file that we want to track with our version control. Let's name this index.html. Now we have an index.html file. So we'll just quickly scaffold an HTML page. I have the Emmet abbreviation here that's going to help me. The Emmet extension on VS Code can be found from the extensions marketplace. And now we have bodies, so I'll just demo Gits, and now we have this. We can go ahead and save. So we have this file in our project directory. What we want to do is we want to start tracking the different versions of this file, and now this is the first version. So I want to open my terminal here, and to start tracking this, first of all, we initialize a Git repository here. This is to tell my computer that this is a Git repository, and to do that, we'll do Git and then init. So initialize the empty Git repository in this. This creates a .git directory here, which contains all the versions of our project. So this can't be seen because it's hidden by default. So now we have this tracked here. Now with VS Code, you can see this place. This is source control pane. This is source control pane. And here it's shown us that there are changes. Now this is a Git repository, so this is active. We have one change, that's one addition. Now the next thing we want to do is stage this change, and we can either do that from this source control pane or from our terminal. So I'll show you how to do it from our terminal and then the source control pane. What we want to do is git add and then the file name, so which is index.html. So staging means I'm preparing this for a commit, and we'll explain a commit later on. So this is to add it, and then to do that from the source control pane, we just simply come here and then click on stage changes. So I find VS Code to be really easy to work with Git and GitHub. So it'll be really easy when you're working with Git and GitHub. Now this is staged. The next thing I want to do is commit this change. Now this means that we're tracking the state of this file that we've staged, and then we're adding a description to that state. So this is what I mean. Git commits, then we have this -m. Now we want to track the state of index.html that we've saved, this particular state, so that we can always go back to it. And then we have this. So this is my initial commit, so I can do initial commit. Or since what I actually did here was add an index.html file, I can decide to do describe this as add index.html file. Now we have this as my commit message. This is the description of the state change. Now enter. We have an error message here. Please tell me who you are. Run git config global username user.email git config global user.name. So now this is like, I want to commit this, but then I need your information to commit this. Now when you're working with like different people in the team, you want to know who saved this particular, who made this particular change, and yeah, track a change and then know who made that change. So to make a GitHub commit, you need to provide your email address and then your name. So to do that, we'll use this command here. I'll just copy these and then paste it here and change this to, remember we use super awesome dev, and then yeah, so now I'm telling Git that this is my email address. Oh, I made a mistake. This is my email address, so at gmail.com, and the next one is your name. So my name is super awesome dev, obviously. All right, now that we have that, we can try to commit again. So let's make our commit again. Yeah, I'm using the up button on the terminal to go back to like previous commands. So git commits -m, then the description of your commits, add index.html file, and then one file change, 10 insertions, create modes, 100,644 index.html. I've successfully made my commits. Now we can also do that from the source control pane, and this makes it a lot easier to an extent. Now this is source control pane. You have source, this and this changes, so you can come here to more actions. Now what if you made a mistake? This makes it really easy. You can undo. Maybe you made a mistake in the description of your change. You can decide to undo your last commit. So you come here and then we can see undo last commit right here. We click on it and we're back to where we were. So now this is how we would have done it from the source control pane. Now right here we're on a file manager, and then you go to the source control pane. You have this box for message. All you just need to do is the description, add index.html file, and then since this is staged now, you just click the commit button, and then there are no stage changes to commit. Okay. Oh yeah, this is not staged. If it was staged, you like see, yeah, so there's a difference now. Now it's staged, and then we've successfully made our commit. Now that we've made our commit, the next thing we want to do is push what we have to our GitHub repository, right? So our GitHub account. So to do that, first of all, we want to create a new repository for GitHub. Yeah, your email was verified, so I've successfully verified my email address. Now I can create a repository. I want to create a new repository on GitHub. New repository. Now this is super awesome dev / repository name. So what's the name of our repository? We named this demo git. And description, you can add a description for your repository, a repository for demoing, yeah, a repository to demo git, yeah. Then you can choose to make this public or private. Public means that anyone can see your repository and can access it, but private means that you're the only one who can see it, and then you can choose specifically who else can join you to see and access that repository. So we are going with public right now. Skip the step of exporting, importing an existing repository. Yeah, we have an existing repository, so we don't need to initialize this repository with the readme, and I'll tell you what the readme file does later on. So let's create a repository. So we've successfully created our GitHub repository. Now a repository, it's is just like a code base. It's the same thing you have in your computer, right? GitHub calls it repository. It's your project directory where you have your code base stored. In GitHub, this is a repository. Now, quick setup if you've done this kind of thing before. This is the first page we're shown after we create a repository. Create a new repository on the command line. So let's imagine we not go through that introduction to creating a repository. You can do that through this place, git init to initialize, like we did. Add readme.md. So the readme file is just like an about section for your project. You know, it basically describes what your project is about, but it's different from the description. So here's an example of what a readme file looks like. Now let's go to this. This is a repository that has a readme file. So that's readme.md. So whatever it's inside the readme.md is what shows up here. Store manager is a web application. So this gives an overview of the application, how to get it running, and so on. So that's what the readme file basically does. It's written in markdown. So that's readme.md. Then you make your commits and remote add a region. So let's see that from here. This is our situation, or push an existing repository from the command line. We have an existing repository. Now git remote add a region, https github.com/superawesomedev/demogit.git. This is how we're adding this particular repository to our local computer so that we can then push to this URL. We'll just copy this command and then paste it in our terminal. Alright, so we've successfully added our origin. Now we can push what we have here to GitHub. So let's do this. Look at the command they've given us. Git push -u origin master. Let's copy this and then click to push. Okay, now in order to push, we have to provide our login details. So username and password. What's the username? That should be super awesome dev. And then the password. So I'm just going to paste the password here and login. All right, we have a success message that you can see right here. Branch master set up to track remote branch master from origin. So what's the branch all about? Now when we reload, we're going to see our code base. Now as you can see, this is the index.html file we created, and then we have one commit, which is the commit we made, one branch, 0 packages, 0 releases, 1 contributor. And as you can see, super awesome dev with the commit message add index.html file. And then when we click on the index.html file, we can see a change here. So the next time we make a change to our repository, let's say we make another change to our repository and add an h2 header and write this is amazing. Now as you can see, this is tracked right here. So the next thing we want to do is stage this change and then write a commit message for it. Adds h2 header, and then the next thing we want to do is push. All right, so that's successful, and as you can see, but when we refresh, we have the next commit message, add h2 header, and this reflects right here. This is amazing. So that's it for our introduction to Git and GitHub. There are like so many other commands for Git. There are so many other functionalities for Git, like pull requests, branches, issues, GitHub actions, GitHub projects, wiki, security, and we'll cover that some other time. But for now, this is all you need to get started with Git and GitHub. I hope this helps you, and if it did, please let me know in the comment box, and please hit the like button. It really helps this channel, and then subscribe if you want to see more content like this. See you in the next video.